right, well, good evening, Throttle Up Biker Bible Study.
Good evening.
Now, we're a little light tonight because we got people out of town, people having to work, people are going in the hospital and things like that. But before we get too far into it, I want you to notice there's a microphone now on the table pointed at you guys. So that when you ask your question, you still can't see you on camera, but when you ask your questions, they can hear what the question is, because I'm not very good at repeating the questions. But a lot of people are liking, the discussion we're having, so I just wanted to show them that that is, something we do. All right. See if I can get this to come up here. So we are in Genesis chapter 26, right?
Right.
And there's a couple of things I want you to look at before we get into 26. But before we do that, we're going to open up in a word of prayer. How about that?
Sounds good.
Heavenly Father, Lord God, again, we thank you for this place that we have to meet, that we have the ability to study the word that you've given us and ask questions and really try to understand what all this has to do with us. But Father God, I just pray right now that you keep your hands on those that couldn't be here tonight. We ask specifically for those that are out ill or going to be having surgery tomorrow or having to work late or whatever. Father, we just thank you and ask you to bring them back in your time. Father, again, everything that you do here is above what we can do, but we thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. And once again, trying to struggle with my phone. There it goes. Yay. All right, so one of the things I want to take a look at before we get into 26, because it's going to start talking about locations, all right? So we're going to look at a map when we get there. But there's also a couple of things after we talked about the very first sentence. I want to go back a little bit. So let's take a look here at Genesis chapter 26, verse 1. Chapter 26, verse 1. It says, "Now there was a famine in the land where Isaac is staying." Right? That's who we're talking about now. We're talking about Isaac. Abraham's dead. Sarah's dead. So this is Isaac, right? So now there was a famine in the land besides the former famine that was there in the days of Abraham. So he's in the same area that had a famine before, right? And Abraham took off and went to Egypt, right? Because of the famine, right? All right, so that's verse 1.
What's a famine?
Famine is when nothing grows.
Crops.
Yeah, all the crops fail. They have no food, right? All right, watch this. In the former famine that was in the days of Abraham, and Isaac went to Gerar to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. Do you remember the name Abimelech?
No.
Okay, let me refresh your memory, and I'm going to go back now to Genesis chapter 20, verse 1. I'm just going to read it off the screen here. It says, "From there, where Abraham was living, he journeyed toward the territory of the Negeb." That's that plain that's down in the south part of Judah, right? He said, "and lived between Kadesh and Shur, and he sojourned to Gerar." Exactly what I just said, where Isaac's going, right? So Isaac's doing the same thing. Oh, yeah, there we go. "And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, 'She is my sister.'" You remember this conversation? Right? And guess who? Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. So now Isaac, running away from a famine, goes to Gerar, where King Abimelech is. Now, before I get yelled at, the word Abimelech may be the title king, or it could be the name of King Abimelech. But this is 100 years later. Could be the son of Abimelech. We don't know, right? All right, I wanted you to see that Abraham ran from where he was to Gerar and then told King Abimelech that Sarah was his sister, okay? Everybody remembers that, right? Because of the way I say that. I do that specifically so that you remember. I would like for you to look now at Genesis 26, verse 2. "And the Lord appeared to him," this is Isaac, "and the Lord appeared to him and said, 'Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land I shall tell you.'" Well, he's already ran away from where God had told Abraham he would make all that land his, right? He's already ran down toward Egypt, but he's not there yet, right? So verse 3, sojourn in the land, and I will be with you, and I will bless you, for to you and to your offspring, and I think King James calls it the seed, right? Okay, so offspring and seed, same thing. So, and then to your offspring, I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham, your father. So good so far, right? Abraham gave everything to Isaac. Isaac now has all the animals, all the servants, but a famine came, so he ran to Gerar, same place Abraham ran to, and Abimelech, potentially the same guy, but probably just the name Abimelech, the king there, welcomed him in, okay? Verse 4, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and will give to your offspring all these lands, and in your offspring all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Right? So good so far, right? He's just listening to God and doing what God tells him. Until this, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So God is telling Isaac, Abraham did what I said, even though Abraham did some, bonehead moves. We know that, right? But he didn't stray from what God told him, other than going places he shouldn't have gone, right? All right. I wish Sabrina was here, because this next line will just we'll just get her. So here we go, verse 6. So Isaac settled in Gerar, or the King James says dwelt in Gerar, right? Okay. Verse 7. Oh boy. When the men of the place asked about him, no, let me try that one more time. I can't read this. When the men of the place asked him about his wife, this is Isaac's wife, Rebekah, right? Mm-hmm. He said, she is my sister. And she's not. She's his cousin, but she's not his sister.
She's his wife too, ain't she?
It's his wife, Rebekah. Does it sound?
Did he know his daddy done that?
You'd almost have to believe that he did know, because he's doing the exact same thing in the exact same place. Mm-hmm. So he's like, wait a minute. That's not my wife. That's my sister, right? Okay. Oh, my goodness. Lest the men of the place shall kill me because of Rebekah, his wife, because she was attractive in appearance. So for the same reason, Abraham said of his then, 90-year-old wife, look, I know she's a good-looking woman, but that's my sister, right? So verse 8, when he had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out of the window and saw Isaac laughing. I think King James says sporting. Yeah. And I saw another one call it, I wrote it down because it was different, caressing. And one of them actually said having sex with. But that was just a different translation. So anyway, interacting with his wife in a specific way. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Looked out the window and saw Isaac laughing with Rebekah, his wife. So he knows something's going on, right? Verse 9. So Abimelech, or the king, right, called Isaac and said, behold, she is your wife. He knows. Now remember, Abimelech, when Abraham was there, was told by somebody that's his wife. Doesn't say here that Abimelech, this king, was told anything. He saw the interaction they had, right? Holding hands, paying bills, whatever it takes, that you know that it's his wife, right? Behold, she is your wife. How then can you say she is my sister? Isaac said to him, because I thought, lest I die because of her. Right? If the men wanted her because she's so pretty, they would kill me. So that's, it's the same logic Abraham had. It's still the same illogical conclusion to do that. She is your wife. So just go with it, right? Verse 10. Verse 10 then says this, if I could see. Abimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife. And I believe in King James it's spelled L-E-I-N. Right. Mine is spelled A-L-A-I-N. Same word, it's just the spelling's different. Lain with your wife and would have brought guilt upon us. At least he knows. Now you got to remember, these are not godly people. They're not Hebrews, right? Abimelech is not of the Jewish line, or Jewish line is not there yet, but you know what I'm saying. They're not Hebrews. They don't worship the same God, right? But he's smart enough to know that if one of my guys lays with your wife, then shame will be brought on us all. Right? Now, Abimelech in Abraham's time did not lay with his wife, even though she was being set up to be that, right? Where's that word concubine when you need it, right? Yeah. So, verse 11. So Abimelech warned all the people, saying, whoever touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Well, that's pretty good, right? Don't touch them. We don't want the wrath of that God coming down on us. Now, this is me thinking out loud, right? This is the way I would think. If I figured something out like that, I definitely wouldn't want their God to come down on me.
Pharaoh gave him money and camels to get rid of him.
Now,
because the plague's so bad.
Right, because they became sick and all those things happened. Just like later on, Moses, right, calls in all of the plagues and stuff on the people of Egypt, right? Yeah. Well, remember, God just told Isaac not to go to Egypt, okay? Remember that. As we go on through life and we talk about Moses going to Egypt, remember, Isaac was told not to go to Egypt, right? So, whoever touches this man or his wife shall be put to death, right? That's 11. 12. Is my thing working? Nah, I've gone offline again, apparently. All right, for those of you out there online, just have to follow with me. Get a Bible out. You need to have a Bible and Bible study anyway. Verse 12. And Isaac sowed in the land and reaped in the same year 100-fold, or 100 times what he put down, right? That's a good return, right? And the Lord blessed him, right? And then 13 is where a word changes. 13, and the man became rich. Now, in the King James it says, and the man waxed great. That's just a funny term to me. No, but then again, that's the Old English, right? So the man waxed great, or the man became rich, means the same thing. Okay. And gained more and more until he became very wealthy, right? So we're good with that. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. Remember, he has all of that Abraham gave him, plus all that he has amassed in his life, right? That's quite a bit. So watch what happens because of that. So 15. Now, in my version, 15 is in a parentheses, which means it's almost like an afterthought. He went back and wrote this in. It's not in the original part of the scroll. Yours shows it as a part of the original scroll, and that's okay. That just means it had been written in there. So 15. Now the Philistines had stopped and filled the earth, or where is it? Oh, same thing, right? So had stopped and filled the earth all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father. And what that means is the people of Gerar, which are called Gerarites, I found out. So the people of Gerar, the farmers, filled in all of the wells that had been dug by Abraham to feed and water his cattle when he was there. Okay? We good with that?
But why?
They wanted the water for their own flocks. They didn't want it coming up in other places.
Okay.
Good question. 16, and Abimelech said to Isaac, go away from us, for you are much mightier than we. Now, it looks like he's jumping between two stories there, because here in a minute, they're going to go start digging other wells. But what they're doing is they're trying to drive Isaac out of Gerar. Okay? So let's see where he goes. So Isaac departed from there, 17, and encamped in the valley of Gerar. So he didn't go far, right? It's like instead of being in the city of Sweetwater, he's just in the Sweetwater Valley, right? We good with that? So the valley of Gerar, and he settled there, 18. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham, his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the names that his father had given them. We're good with that, right? Okay. That was 18. 19. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley, and I think yours says digged, correct? So digged and dug. Dug in the valley and found there a well of spring of water. 20. The herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, and I believe it says did strive with the herdsmen. Okay, same thing, right? Quarreled with, strived with, having a confrontation with them, right? Now that word confrontation means something here in a minute, so that's why I said it. So it's the herdsmen argued with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. We live here. This is ours. You're just sojourning here. You're just a visitor, right? You came down because of the famine. There we go. Then he says, so he called the name of this well Esek. And Esek means contention. That's why I said that earlier. They were having contention. That's what that word means, right? They're arguing back and forth because they contended with him, it says, 20. 21, then they dug yet another well. No, yet, just me. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled or strived over that one also. So he called its name Sitnah. And Sitnah means enmity. And enmity means a disagreement or an argument or a bad feeling between. Okay? 22, and he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. There was no strife amongst it, right? Okay, so he called its name Rehoboth, and Rehoboth means broad places to roam. A nice big swatch of area. You can have that well there. That's fine, right? So he called its name Rehoboth, saying, for now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. Well, if this will work, let me see. I don't know why it has to do this. I want to show you that picture. I'll just go up here and do it. I'm going to show you this picture. So here we go. So you got to remember now, this back then was called Judea, right? And this is Israel. Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Hebron. Here's Gerar, so this is that plain that they call the Negev, right? It's right in here. So this is where they are, Gerar. Kind of in between what's known as the Gaza Strip now, right? And the Dead Sea, right? Thank you. I couldn't read it right there. So that's where they are. Now, I bring that up because the next verse says, for now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in this land. That's a nice, fertile piece of ground down there. So watch what he does. From there he went up to Beersheba. Please take a look at that map and see where Beersheba is from the Gerar.
Down there.
it's south, it's because of mountains. A lot of times when you're reading things in the Hebrew and it says up from, it's because they're going uphill, even though the direction is south. You got to understand it's more about what they see versus a true direction. Okay, so he went up to Beersheba. Now, what do you think Beersheba means? We don't know yet, right?
We've seen that word before.
Yeah.
Right. You see it down there just above Mont Eagle. Right. You take 24 from Chattanooga back toward Nashville, you'll come into Beersheba. It's actually, we call it Beersheba, but anyway, so here's Beersheba. Now listen to this. Beersheba means well of seven. Don't know why, but that's what that word means. Well, watch what it says. From there he went up to Beersheba, verse 24. And the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you and will bless you and multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake. Remember, God promised Abraham many nations will come from him through Isaac. That's this one he's talking to, right? So he says, you're going to have a bunch of them, right? You ready? So Isaac then, he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Keep going with me. 26. When Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahazath, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Remember when we look back at chapter 20 when Abraham went to Gerar and told Abimelech that was his sister? That was the same two guys, or the same two titles of the guys that was with Abimelech. That's the twice now we've seen those names together. Calling them his friend Ahizulath and his commander of the armies, Phicol. That's what I say, Phicol, right? So Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and sent me away from you, right? Getting close here. Is that it? Is the word betwixt there? That's in 28. Are we in 28? Mm-hmm. Okay. So they said, we see plainly that the Lord has been with you. So we said, let there be a sworn pact between us, between you and us. And I think in King James it says betwixt us, right? How many times do you use the word betwixt, right? Yeah. Yeah. So between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, a promise, an oath, right? An oath between us. 29, that you will do us no harm. Don't hurt us because you'll outnumber us. That's what it was just talking about. All of his servants and all of his cattle and all of the things he has is bigger than the whole territory of Gerar. Okay? You're starting to get to see the grandeur of how much he has. That you will do no harm, just as we have not touched you. And I add in this, that we have not touched your sister, which is your wife, right? And that we will do you no harm, just as we've not touched you, and have done nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. Excuse me. Now, they're kind of skipping over the fact that they filled in all the wells, right? And they quarreled over the wells, right? But it says, you are now the blessed of the Lord. They're speaking to Isaac of the Lord his God, blessing him. And they can see it, even though they're not of the same religion, right? So 30 then says this. So he made them a feast. He fed them. You know, they've chased him away. They filled in all of his wells. And now he's going to feed them because they say, let's make an oath between each other, right? That you're not going to hurt us. We messed up. That's what I see, right? That they messed up. They know it. They went and said, look, we'd like to not be at war with you. So Isaac makes them a meal, right? So then he made them a feast, and they ate and they drank. Now, 31. And in the morning they rose early and exchanged oaths. And the King James says, and they rose up betimes in the morning. What in the world does betimes mean?
I never heard it.
I've never heard that word either, so I had to think about this. It says, in the morning they rose early. So we know what early in the morning is, right? So if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, that's early. But if it's before 6, it might be the in-between night and day time for them. And that might be what that means. I don't know. That's just what I came up with. So betimes in the morning. So they rose up early in the morning and exchanged oaths. And Isaac sent them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. Whew. He's not going to hurt us, right? Even though we've been stupid and we've done bad things to them. He's not going to hurt us. But that same day, Isaac's servants came to him and told him that they had dug phooey. That same day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well that they had dug and said to him, we have found water. You know, I don't understand all that means, but this plain of the Negeb where Gerar is near must not, you would think it doesn't have a whole lot of water if they were so excited about finding water. But we just said that was a very fertile location, right? There's a lot of grain growing there. There's a lot of olives and figs and things like that we have to believe because of the way it talks about it, right? So then verse 33 says this, he called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. So I went and I looked that up, right? I said, what in the world does that mean? Sheba sounds like the Hebrew word for oath or promise, okay? So Beersheba is the well of 7 oaths, or the well of, between the tribes, 7, right? Best I can come up with, right? And that should be all, right? But then there's another verse. Now, in the King James, I believe it just runs them together. Is that correct?
No, it's 34.
Right? So, in the morning, where's my King James? There it is. Sorry.
And it flips back to Esau.
Right, okay. So we have found water, and he called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day. And then it's a hard break in my Bible and a new paragraph. Now, of course, they didn't do paragraphs back then, right? And King James just puts another sentence in there, and it says, and Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith of Beeri the Hittite and Bashemoth, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. So Esau has sold his birthright to Isaac, right? So Isaac now has, no. I say I'm wrong. Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. I keep getting the names wrong, right? They're talking about Isaac here. Well, Isaac is Esau's dad, right? Isaac and Rebekah have the twins. Esau is first, red and hairy, and Jacob means holding on to the heel, or the one that comes after, right? So all of a sudden, at the end of this story about Isaac and Rebekah in Gerar, is the story that Esau has now taken 2 wives from Hittite men. Guess what? The Hittites do not get along with any of these people. Because look what it says next. It says, which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and Rebekah. So Esau, taking these 2 wives from the Hittites, I think the king...
That's what I thought. He had 2 wives.
Right.
What I was sitting here wondering.
Right. So Esau takes 2 wives, and they become a problem to Jacob and Rebekah. Not Jacob, Isaac and Rebekah. Sometimes I get certain names mixed up. I get Gabriel and Michael mixed up. I get Moses and Abraham mixed up, and I get Isaac and Esau and Jacob mixed up. Anyway, so here is the son of Isaac and Rebekah, who just made this pact with all of the people of Gerar that they won't hurt him, but yet now his son goes and marries 2 women of a tribe of people that does not get along with the Gerites or with the people of the Negeb where he's living. That's what we're going to get to. Esau becomes a problem for Isaac and Rebekah. And that's it. Then it goes on to something else.
Yeah.
Well, you know, sometimes, but remember, the Bible never says something unless it becomes important later on, right? It may be a while, but this marriage of Esau to the Hittites is going to cause problems further on in the Bible. We're going to see that quite often, okay? So even though there was a whole bunch of verses there, that was 35 verses, it went fairly quickly because it's just a story about them digging wells and moving around, and then all of a sudden Esau gets married. Who cares? All right?
The 2 women.
To 2 women of a tribe that...
I kept reading that over and over. I'm thinking, 2 women.
That's why I wish Sabrina was here. Sabrina, we love you and we miss you. But this is a male-dominated society back then, and they had multiple wives or concubines or whatever, right? So there's just another piece of it. All right? So that was the story for tonight, but it didn't take us long because there wasn't a whole lot of questions. Are you good with that? You want to go on a little bit more?
Yeah, let's.
You want to finish this next part? Okay, listen to this. So in chapter 27, listen to this. When Isaac was old, well, wait a minute. How old was Isaac when the twins were born? Right? We've already said he was like 60.
Yeah.
Right? Somewhere along in there. And his eyes were dim that he could not see. He called Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." Verse 2. He said, "Behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death." 3. Now take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, go out to the field and hunt game for me. Remember, Esau was a good hunter.
Right.
Jacob was a good cook, right?
Yeah.
That's how Jacob got Esau to sell him his birthright. He came in from working the fields. "I'm hungry. Sell me your birthright." Gave him a bowl of lentil soup, right? All right, so there we go. So go out and get some game for me and prepare for me delicious food, such as I love, and bring it to me so I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. So he's saying, feed me well so I can give my blessing to you. Now he can't see, but that's what he wants. Sounds good, right? You know, one last good meal, right? Your last meal. But he doesn't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen soon, so feed me quick, right? 5. And then the plot thickens again. Now Rebekah, remember Jacob's mama's boy, right? We said that. And Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food, that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats, so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves." So Rebekah, the son of Abraham's cousin, just told her son, Jacob, "We're going to trick you, daddy. Go get me 2 goats." Now, Esau's out hunting elk or moose or, not over there, of course, but you know what I'm saying. Some big game, right? You don't have to hunt goats.
He sent him after venison.
Venison, it says in here, is deer, elk, whatever, right? So here it is. She's telling him, look, go get me 2 goats and let me make something real good to eat right now. So it's Rebekah that plants this seed into Jacob's mind. Jacob has already taken the birthright from Esau, but has nothing to do with Isaac yet, right? Now, here's where they start to mess with Isaac. So I command you, go and give me 2 goats, I will prepare them. 10, and you shall bring to your father to eat so that he may bless you before he dies. Remember, the blessing's supposed to go to the oldest. That's Esau, the red hairy one, right? But Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man. So he didn't lose the hair he had when he was a baby, right? And I am a smooth man, right? Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing. So now Jacob's thinking ahead. If I go in there and he grabs hold of my arm, he's going to know I'm not Esau. Okay? So the scheme gets thicker. His mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go bring them to me. What in the world has made her want Jacob to do this? Remember, Esau is his daddy's boy, and Jacob is her son, right? That's her boy, right? So he went and took them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared delicious food, such as his father loved. Now, I don't know if I could tell the difference between goat and venison, but I don't know. I guess it's all how it's prepared, right? Whether or not you soak it in buttermilk for long enough or whatever, right? I don't know. So then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. So she clothed him in Esau's clothes, which would have smelled like Esau, right? And the skins of the young goats she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. So when he went to his father and said, my father, and he said, here I am, who are you, my son? Jacob said to his father, here's a contention point for all of eternity. Listen to this. I am Esau. So Jacob falls along with that and says, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you have told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, which is actually goats, that your soul may bless me. But Isaac said to his son, how is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? He answered, because the Lord your God granted me success. Jacob just pulled God into the lie. Okay? Now you would think that they would know better, right? Yeah. You would think that, but they still do bonehead moves like this, right? Your God has blessed me with food to give to you so that you can bless me in front of him so I get your blessings before you die. Then Isaac said to Jacob, please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not. So now Rebekah had put those skins on him so that when Isaac touches him, it'll be hairy on his hands and the back of his neck. Wow. So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau, because they're hairy. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him, right? Which means you have everything now. He said, are you really my son Esau? So he's still not convinced. the voice of Jacob, but the hairy hands of Esau, right? Are you really my son? And he answered, I am. Then he said, bring it near to me, that I may eat of my son's game and bless you. He brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come near and kiss me, my son. Remember now, she put that patch of lambskin on the back of his neck for a reason, right? So he came near and kissed him, and Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him. Remember, because it's Esau's clothes he's wearing. See, the smell of my son is the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of heaven, and of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your... What does King James say for that next one? Brethren. Brothers. More than one, right? It's Isaac and Esau, but it says brothers. Right?
Lord over thy brethren.
Right? That's exactly right. And may your mother's sons bow down to you. So apparently, they either have or will have more sons, even though Isaac's about to die. Okay? Now, I didn't see any of that before. I don't know of other sons that Isaac has. I know of a bunch of new sons that Abraham had before he died, but not Isaac. Okay? So that's one of the things that's a question I have. Where's all these other sons, right? Bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, guess what?
Esau comes in.
Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father, and he said to his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me. I just did that. Who are you? Right? So his father Isaac said to him, who are you? He answered, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. Then Isaac trembled very violently and said, who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate it all before you came, and I have blessed him? Yes, and he shall be blessed. So Isaac caught on that he's been duped, right? He can't see, but he can smell and he can taste, and everything tasted right and smelled right, right? And he can feel. He felt the hairy hands, right? As soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. He has no right to request that, because he gave up his birthright. Remember? What good is my birthright if I'm going to die of hunger? He gave it up. So he can't in their way of thinking, he can't ask that. But he's almost demanding, right? Now, remember that verse that seemed out of place a minute ago? And Esau was 40 years old and took the 2 wives? To me, it's out of place. It should be after this. I don't know. I'm not saying the Bible's wrong or anything, but watch what happens next, right? He says, "Dude, bless me, bless me, bless me," right? His father cried out with exceedingly great and said, bless me, even me also, my father. 35, but he said, your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing. 36, Esau said, is he not rightly named Jacob, the one that comes after or holds on to the heel, right? So, for he has cheated me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing. Then he said, have you not received a blessing from me? So this is Isaac saying to Esau, have you not received a blessing from me? Isaac answered and said to Esau, behold, I have made him lord over you. I've already blessed him. That means he is the leader now. And all his brothers I have given to him for servants, and with grain and wine I have sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, have you bore but one blessing, my father? Bless me even also, O my father. And Esau lifted his voice and wept. So he's upset that Jacob has duped Isaac and now taken not only his birthright, but his blessing. We good with all that? All right, let's go ahead and finish this out. 27, 39. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, behold, away from me the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. But your sword shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. So he's already saying you're going to get tired of being your brother's servant, and when you get tired of him, you're going to try to get away from him. Okay? Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him, and Esau said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are approaching, then I will kill my brother Jacob. But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice, arise, flee to Laban, my brother in Haran. Remember, when Abraham sent his eldest servant into the Ur of Chaldees to find a wife for Isaac, that's where he went. He went to the house of Laban, Rebekah's brother, right? And gave them gifts and stuff. So go there. Go there, right? And stay with him a while until your brother's fury turns away. Until your brother's anger turns away from you and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereft of you both in one day? Meaning the father and Jacob, right? Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. See, now you see those two women that Esau has married come back into the story. That's why I'm not sure that it was out of place, but it came up again, right? I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like these, one of the women of the land, what good will my life be? She's upset because she doesn't want Jacob to marry a Hittite. Just like Abraham didn't want Isaac to marry a person of that land, a Hittite. Okay? You get the comparison now? It's just the perpetual thing that keeps going up and up. Just like fleeing to Gerar and offering up your wife as your sister. Right? They keep doing that. It's just like a perpetual kind of thing. So she sends her son Jacob back to the Ur of Chaldees so he can find a woman of their clan. It didn't say that, but that's what she's thinking. Instead of a Hittite woman. Right? Instead of one of them Morgan County girls. Right? I'm just teasing. Just teasing. Anyway, so we got through a few extra verses there, but you see how the comparison happens when you look at Abraham's life and then Isaac's life, and now we see Jacob falling into the same. So Esau broke that cycle and married Hittite women, two of them, right? And even though Abraham did have concubines and a second wife after Sarah died, now Esau, his grandson, has two wives that are Hittites. But Jacob is being sent back to the Ur of Chaldees to find a woman like they did for Isaac. But Isaac has been duped, and Esau's been taken advantage of twice. I'm hungry. Sell me your birthright and I'll feed you. While he's out hunting game, Jacob, through the encouragement of Rebekah, goes in and feeds their dad so he gets the blessing. It's just a mess. This whole group of people, they're just like your in-laws. It's such a mess in their life. That's why I keep telling people, that you ain't done nothing that hadn't been done and written down before.
Right.
That's the truth, right? So Thanksgiving at their house would be a little bit tricky now. Questions? You enjoying this? Yeah. Good. I like this. You know, it's fun to look back at history and really dig into it and understand what Moses wrote down 1,000 or more years after it happened, because God said this is what happened, right? So he wrote it down. All right. Questions? Comments? All right. You're laughing. What you laughing at?
It's just getting crazier and crazier.
Oh, and it still will. It will continue on until he comes back. That's the truth.
Just like the world is now.
Just like the world is now. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But it's good to see these stories. I love these stories. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera, and we'll do our personal private prayer request. And for the rest of you guys, be looking forward to seeing you Sunday morning, 11 a.m., or for you to see us after Sunday morning at 11 a.m. But if you have any questions, send them to me. It's all good. You know, we love the questions. We love the interaction. Like I say, we're getting, several people watching online, and I get questions, back through the internet, so that's good. So if you have questions, just send them in on the video or message me, whatever. But thank y'all for watching, and thank y'all for being here. All right? See you.